Welcome to Sunya Talks Saturday session where we discuss Sanyuta Nikaya, which is part of Pāli Tipiṭaka. We are doing the translations under the guidance of Dr. Lim Siojin, Dhanachara Nagajiva, and SEEF team, translation team is working very hard for coming up with translations, and we want to revive the Pali language, so we are adding the original Pali words in our translations. With me is Dr. Rajasavara, who is psychotherapist and famous Ayurveda Acharya. Welcome, doctor, to the show.
Yeah, good morning and thank you so much.
Yeah, I guess Dr. Lim is busy today because he's traveling. So we'll continue the session. We will wait for his presence. If he joins, then we'll continue. So
Yeah.
before we begin our session, let's have our red bell practice reverse countdown from 9 to 0. Doctor, today we are going to discuss the Khujli Varga, the Khachaniya Varga, the EG part, which is part of link discourses, the group of link discourses beginning with the aggregates. We are continuing that series, and this is the middle 50. So, first sutta is 22.80, Pindola Sutta, beggars. At one time, the Bhagava was staying among the Shakyans in Kapilvattu in Nigrodharam. Then the Bhagava, having dismissed the Sangha of bhikkhus for some reason, dressed in the morning, took his bowl and robe, and entered Kapilvattu for alms. After walking for and returning he went to the Mahavan for the day's abiding. Having entered the Mahavan, he sat down at the foot of a Belua sapling for the day's abiding. At one time, the Bhagava was staying. Then this slide, next slide. Then, while the Bhagava was alone and secluded, this thought arose in his mind. I have burdened the Sangha of bhikkhus. There are here newly ordained bhikkhus, recently gone forth, who have newly come to this Dhamma and Vinaya. If they do not see me, there might be change or alteration in them, just as a young calf, not seeing its mother, might change or alter, so too, newly ordained bhikkhus, not seeing me, might change or alter. Just as young seeds, not obtaining water, might change or alter, so too these bhikkhus, not obtaining my presence, might change or alter. Why don't I now support the Sangha of bhikkhus just as I have supported them before? Then Brahma Sampati, knowing the Bhagava's thought, just as a strong man might stretch out his bent arm or bend his stretched out arm, disappeared from the Brahmalok and appeared in front of Bhagava. Then Brahma Sampati, arranging his robe over one shoulder, extended his hands in reverence toward the Bhagava and said, It is so, Bhagava, it is so, Sugata. The Sangha of bhikkhus has been burdened by the Bhagava. There are here newly ordained bhikkhus recently gone forth who have newly come to this Dhamma and Vinaya. If they do not see the Bhagava, there might be change or alteration in them. Just as a young calf, not seeing its mother, might change or alter, so too these newly ordained bhikkhus, not seeing the Bhagava, might change or alter. Just as young seeds not obtaining water might change or alter, so too these monks not obtaining the Bhagava presence might change or alter. Let the Bhagava rejoice in the Sangha of bhikkhus. Let the Bhagava support the Sangha of Bhikkhus. Just as the Bhagava has supported the Sangha of Bhikkhus before, let him now support the Sangha of Bhikkhus. The Bhagava consented by silence. Then Brahma Sampati, knowing the Bhagava's consent, paid homage to Bhagava, circumambulated, and disappeared right there. Then in the evening, the Bhagava emerged from seclusion and went to the Nigrodhara. Having arrived, he sat down on the prepared seat. Sitting there, the Bhagava, a feat of power such that those feeling inspired approached him one by one. Those bhikkhus feeling inspired approached the Bhagava one by one. Having approached, they paid homage to him and sat down to one place. When they were seated, the Bhagava said to them, because this is the limit of livelihoods, namely alms gathering. Because in the Loka, it is a curse to wander with a bowl in hand. Yet bhikkhus, noble youths, undertake this for a good reason, for the sake of a purpose. They are not driven by kings, thieves, debt, fear, or livelihood. Rather, they are overwhelmed by birth, jaramaran, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. They are overwhelmed by dukkha, bound by dukkha, thinking, perhaps there will be an end to this entire mass of dukkha, because this is how Akula Kutta has gone forth. Yet he is covetous, intensely desiring sensual pleasure, with a chitta of ill will, with corrupt thoughts, unaware, lacking awareness, unconcentrated, scattered minded, and with unrestrained faculties. Because just as a burning torch from a fundral pyre, burning at both ends and smeared with dung in the middle, is useless for firewood in the village or the forest. So too bhikkhus. I say this person is deprived of household pleasures and does not fulfill the goal of samana life. Because there are these three unwholesome thoughts: sensual thought, thought of ill will, and thought of harm. Because where do these three unwholesome thoughts cease without remainder? They cease in one who dwells with a well established chitta in the four Satipatthana or develops signless samadhi. Because it is enough to develop signless samadhi, because signless samadhi, when developed and cultivated, is of great fruit and benefit. Because there are these two ditthis, the view of existence and of non existence. Because a learned Arya Shavaka reflects us, is there anything in the loka that I could cling to without blame? He understands there is nothing in the loka that I could cling to without blame. For if I were to cling to Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, or Vijnana, then with clinging as condition, existence would arise. With existence as condition, birth. With birth as condition, Jara, Marana, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair would arise. Thus, the entire mass of dukkha would arise. And what do you think? Because is Rupa Nitya or Anitya? Anitya Bhante. Is what is Anitya, Dukkha or Sukha? Dukkha Bhante. What is Anitya, Dukkha and subject to change, fit to be regarded as this is mine, this I am, this is myself? No Bhante. Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Viyana. Therefore, because seeing thus one understands there is no more for this state of being. This was the end of Sutta Doctor, and the starting of the sutta is very interesting, as Bhagava was in seclusion, and but then it occurred to him that Sangha needs the his presence, because and the similes which have come are also interesting. Just like a young calf not seeing his mother, and the young seeds which are not watered enough, they may go to waste. So likewise, the teacher or guide or mentor's presence in our life has been stated here. uh, we will go one by one, but then we will like to know about this sutta, your understanding, Doctor. Here. We can
Yeah.
go to slide number 9.
So this is a very important sutta which talks about how we have to be a part of the sangha. If we start a sangha, you cannot just start and go away. Uh, you need to engage, you need to remain there as an inspiration, you remain there as a motivation, you remain there as a guide to the people who are like newcomers who see you and then follow you. So it's very important that every time you have to be engaged in whatever activities you're doing, exactly because the new people who join the sangha, the team, they are like the new calf, the young calf, and they are looking out for that motherly support, the guidance from the experienced ones. And this is exactly what a seed will be looking out for: water, so that it can grow. So here we are looking at these similes showing the importance of a teacher, a guide, a mentor, and how important this person is in the life of others when it comes up shaping their life and bettering their life. And it also is very symbolic of the teacher who then comes and contributes. And here, if you look at Buddha giving the example again of the Panchaskanda, and again, if you look at the sutras, they're talking about the importance of Panchaskandas and how one need not consider that Panchaskandas are them and it belongs to them, or they try to find themselves in that Panchaskanda. If one understands this and does not get attached to any of these Panchaskandas, he is then actually experiencing what we call a kind of a liberation, the freedom, because of which he realizes there is no more going to be birth and there is no more coming again, and everything that had to be done has been done, and this is the real nirvana that we are seeking out for: liberation.
Right. Doctor, as you have stated here, the importance of teacher and guide comes to motivate the younger ones in a team. But here, two things, Doctor Brahma Sampati had to come, and I don't know whether it is right word to use, convince Buddha to do the same thing, because
No, Buddha already
is
had the
Buddha
thought that
seeking
he.
some validation?
No, Buddha already had the
Yeah.
idea that he had to go and do this, and he was going to do that. But the fact
Mm.
that Brahma also felt like contributing to say that yes, this would be good that you do that. So
Uh,
it
uh,
was already his decision. So I think it's not about a validation that he's seeking, or Brahma Sampati
uh,
trying to convince Buddha. No, it's not
uh,
like that.
uh,
At least
okay.
that's what I
And
see.
then, yeah, and to make younger ones feeling inspired, Bhagava performed a feat of spiritual power. We can go to slide number 12. Uh, so, uh, like, in order to show and impress the people so that, they will listen to you. So, is a demo of what you have is important, Doctor, when it comes to our life also?
Yeah, it's very simple, right? A first standard boy is always going to find the second standard boy who is more skilled to be having
Mm,
miraculous powers. So Buddha is just trying to
mm,
show that yes, he can be worthy of a guide, he can be worthy of a
mm,
teacher, wherein they can seek the shelter and
mm.
guidance from. So it's when you talk about miracle, is something that somebody is much more skilled than you in doing that particular
Uh-huh,
thing.
uh-huh. Yes, doctor. Now, three unwholesome thoughts have been come in picture on slide number 15. They are talking about sensual thought, thought of ill will, and thought of harm. Also, like they are talking about the ceasing without remainder of for this three unwholesome thoughts, which is like a well-established chitta in four satipatthana. We have kaya means seeing as it is the body, Vedananupasana, seeing as it is the feelings, then Chittanupasana, we see mind as it is, and Dhammanupasana, we see Dhamma as it is. And then it is talking about the Animitta Samadhi, signless Samadhi, the concentration. So we would like to know about this in details, especially the what is this signless Samadhi?
Okay, so here you look at the three unwholesome thoughts. Anything that is not wholesome means the is not leading to that wholesome experience is an unwholesome thought. And if it comes from senses, if it comes from the ill will, the three poisons, or it comes with intention like harm, so it could lead to the six senses. It could also lead to the three poisons or the three breaking of the Panchashila. If any of the unwholesome thoughts come from that, then one has to make sure that these unwholesome thoughts are not taking birth, and they are completely seized without any remainder, because even if a little remainder remains, it will manifest for sure. Okay, and how is that possible? They should completely cease. And how then? The mind should be established in the four satipatthans, the foundations of sati, that is the body, that is the feeling, action, and consciousness, the dharma itself. When we look at the senses, we look at the poisons, and we look at the shields, the pancha shields, and we see that we practice them on the four foundations of sati, and we are aware of their being, then we will be able to take their unwholesome thoughts and try to make it into the wholesome experience. And that wholesome experience is signless, it doesn't have any qualities, like a glass that does if you look at a glass that does not have any stain in it. Okay, and it's transparent, but because it is transparent, you cannot see the glass because it is signless, without any stainless. So one that is without any stain, completely without
Mm.
any dust, then you are actually calling it signless. So here, when you talk about samadhi, the state where everything is without any sign is a signless samadhi. That means now when you are satisfied, when you are in that mode of samadhan, what we call the satisfaction, and there is not a single desire left, that's where you're called in a state of signless samadhi. That kind of concentration one has to acquire. That means his senses, his all five senses, including the mind, is engaged in that particular act. Like when you practice shunya, when you observe the breath and do the reverse count in the red belt, you are actually not getting distracted. If you're getting distracted, you cannot finish the count, you will miss the count. So when you are in signless samadhi in that particular red belt, you will be completely observing the breath and completing the count. So 99 to 0 will be completely without any distraction. That would be a signless samadhi for red belt.
Yeah, Doctor, great analogy of crystal clear glass water to signless samadhi. I hope with Sunya practice we can see the things as it is, the each and every experience we are dealing with. So let's move to the another sutta, Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So next sutta is 22.80 beggars. Uh, at one time, the Bhagava was staying among the Shakyans in Kapilvastu in Nigrodhara. Then the Bhagava, having dismissed the Sangha of bhikkhus for some reason, dressed in the morning, took his bowl and robe, and entered Kapilvattu for alms. After walking for alms in Kapilvattu and returning from the alms round, he went to the Mahavan for the day's abiding. Having entered the Mahavan, he sat down at the foot of Bilva sapling for the day's abiding. Then, while the Bhagava was alone and secluded, this thought arose in his mind. I have burdened the Sangha of bhikkhus. There are, Doctor, I guess it is repeating.
Is the repeating? This is, I think, the similar sutra. So can we take this
Yeah,
another
yeah.
one?
So we can take next sutta, Doctor.
Yeah,
This would be 22.82 Punnama Sutta, a
yeah.
full moonlight. Okay. At one time, the Bhagava was dwelling at Savatthi in the Ubarama, at the Pasada of Migara's mother, together with a large assembly of bhikkhus. At the time, on the opposite day of the 15th, the night of the full moon, the Bhagava was seated in the open air, surrounded by the assembly of bhikkhus. Then a certain bhikkhu rose from his seat, arranged his upper robe over one shoulder, and extending his hands in reverential salutation towards the Bhagavanta, said, Bhante, I would like to ask the Bhagavanta about a certain point. If the Bhagava would grant me the opportunity to answer a question. The Bhagava replied, Then Bhikkhu, sit in your own seat and ask whatever you wish. Yes, Bhante, the Bhikkhu replied, and sitting back in his seat, he asked, Bhante, are these the five aggregates subject to clinging? The Rupa aggregate subject to clinging, the Vedana aggregate subject to clinging, the Sanya aggregate subject to clinging, the Sankhara aggregate subject to clinging, and the Viyana aggregate subject to clinging. The Bhagavad replied, Yes, Bhikkhu. These are the five aggregates subject to clinging. Sadhu Bhante, the Bhikkhu said, delighting in and approving of Bhagavad's words, and then he asked further, but Bhante, what is the root of these five aggregates subject to clinging? Bhikkhu, these five aggregates subject to clinging are rooted in chanda, desire. Bhante, is clinging the same as these five aggregates subject to clinging, or is clinging something apart from them? Bhikkhu, clinging is neither the same as these five aggregates subject to clinging, nor is it something apart from them. Rather, the chanda, desire, and the raga, lust for them, is the clinging there. Sadhu Bhante, the Bhikkhu said, and then he asked further. So they talked about the clinging part, Doctor, first, and now they are talking about the root cause of it. And desire and lust are the main root causes for this.
Yeah.
Now
So
moving
the
on.
question he's asking here is that is these clinging the part of the five aggregates? So Buddha says yes. Then he asks, is it that these clinging is, as
Mm,
they say, is it like same of the five aggregates, or is it different from
mm,
it? So Buddha says it is neither
mm,
same nor different from it, because the
yeah,
clinging is born from desire and raga, lust. And
lust.
hence, you should understand here, it is all interconnected, okay, interdependent. So you
Uh,
cannot
uh,
separate something out. That's why Buddha always will say that something is there, but it's not there also, because you cannot separate it out. They are dependent on one another. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. Moving on, the Bhikkhu further said, Bhante, can there be a varying degrees of chanda and raga for these five aggregates, subject to clinging? Yes, Bhikkhu, the Bhagavad replied. Here, Bhikkhu, someone might think, in the future, may I have such rupa, such vedna, such sanya, such sankara, such vijnana. In this way, Bhikkhu, there can be varying degrees of chanda and raga for these five aggregates subject to clinging. Sadhu Bhante, the Bhikkhu said, and then he further asked, Bhante, to what extent is the term aggregates applied to the aggregates? Bhikkhu, whatever rupa, past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. This is called rupa aggregate. Whatever vedana, whatever sanya, whatever sankhara, whatever viyana, past, future, or present, internal or external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. This is called the viyana kanda. To this extent, Bhikkhu, the term aggregates is applied to the aggregates. Sadhu Bhante, the Bhikkhu said, and then he further asked. Doctor, here, uh,
Kevin,
that,
go to the back slide. You're moving a slide ahead first. Previous slide, huh?
yeah, yeah. Doctor, on slide number 40, that Bhikkhu is affirming in the future, I may have such a Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, Vijnana. And in this way, our degrees of, having the desire, having the Krishna and lust will be varying, and the clinging towards this Panchasara will vary. That has been discussed. And why aggregates are applied to the aggregates, that discussion is also happening here. Again, it is relating and talking in terms of past, future, and present.
Yeah, so here, if you look at it,
Yeah.
he's very clearly asking that if desire is connected to the Panchaskanda, then he's asking, is desire separate from Panchaskanda? Then Buddha says, no, you cannot say. Is it a part of Panchaskanda? No, you cannot even say that.
Hmm.
So then he's asking,
Yeah.
okay, if that is the
Ah.
case, can there be a
Ah.
variety or variation in the chanda, the desire on the
Yeah.
lust that
Yeah.
gives rise to the clinging?
Hmm.
Buddha says yes. So he is now trying to decipher the difference between clinging and raga and panchaskanda. Okay, so he's
Hmm.
asking that. So he's asking to
Oh.
Bante, to what extent
Hmm.
is the term aggregates applied to the aggregate? So how much of how much is it? is going to be
Yeah.
defined as an aggregate. So how much of the
Mm,
Panchaskandha of Rupa can
mm,
you say? Because when you're talking about varying degree,
mm,
at what degree of
mm,
variation that Panchaskandha will not be a Panchaskandha? So he's asking about that. So if it
mm,
is Rupa, you're saying it can have a desire for Rupa.
mm,
In the past, you could have, so in the future
mm,
also you could have the desire. So this variety or variation in the desire of Rupa, at what extent, how much will be defined as, so he's just going deeper into asking
mm,
that, and Buddha is answering that.
mm.
So if you continue, you'll
Yeah.
realize he's telling that, Bhikkhu, whatever Rupa, past, future, or present,
Mm,
internal or external,
mm,
gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near. So he's talking about the variation. This is called
mm,
the Rupa aggregate. So he's saying whatever it is all called the Rupa
mm,
aggregate, and same is with your other skandhas. Okay, to this
mm,
extent, Bhikkhu, the term aggregates is applied to the aggregates. So whatever
mm,
it is, if once it is
mm,
even put into that comparison of this and that and here and there and little and more and everything, all that will be a part of the aggregates. You cannot say that is separate, this skanda is separate,
mm,
this rupa is separate. No, once it is in space and time, it is definitely going to be considered as an aggregate.
mm, mm, mm. So
Then
the
again,
whatever is,
yeah,
we can measure in the terms of space and time,
yeah,
we call it as aggregate. Simple definition, as
yeah,
simple as that.
yeah,
The Bhikkhu is further inquiring, doctor. Interesting conversation is happening. Bhante, what is the cause? What is the condition for the manifestation of the Rupa aggregate? What is the cause? What is the condition for the manifestation of Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana aggregate? The next slide. Bhikkhu, the four great elements are the cause and condition for the manifestation of the Rupa aggregate. Contact is the cause and condition for the manifestation of Vedana. Contact is the cause and condition for the manifestation of Sanya aggregate. Contact is the cause and condition for the manifestation of the Sankhara aggregate. Name and form is the cause and condition for the manifestation of the Vijnana aggregate. Doctor, here, four great elements: the water, the fire, the air, and the earth element. These four great elements are the cause for the Rupa, which is pretty understandable. But for all of the three, next three, for Vedana, for Sanya, and for Sankhara, contact is the main root cause, because it's the cause and condition for the manifestation of all these three. And then again, name and form is the cause for the Vijnana. So, how this contact is so much important, doctor, and coming for all the three of them, for
yeah.
Vedana, Sanya, and Sankhara.
So you need to understand that the material is formed from matter, and the matter are the four elements: earth, water, fire, and earth, water, fire,
Earth
earth, water, fire,
and
and
air.
air. So these four, they
Air.
form the material world. Okay, and here it is saying that whatever it has materialized is because it's an aggregate, it's an accumulation or a combination of this, a composite of rupa. Okay, so these
Yeah.
elements. So, but when it comes up to feelings, when it
Mm,
comes up to perception, when it comes up to your mental action, these are
mm,
not material. Hence, they are born from, or they come into existence because of contact. Contact of what? The five senses. Because this is a sensual world. Hence, these things also are born because of the contact, okay, with the
mm,
senses. And then
mm,
comes the name and form, which is basically the idea, the whole thing, that identity of I that comes is because of the
mm,
experiential that you had, because of the senses, that feeling of differentiation that comes, where you start naming and categorizing things, okay, and shaping them mentally, and hence that differentiation, that consciousness that is born, is also because of our idea of having things categorized into name and form. So if we can, like for example, we have the name and form and concept of time in terms of past, present, and future. An animal does
mm,
not have that, okay,
mm,
because it is not in that. But because it is devoid of that, it is uh, existing out there, but without the consciousness that separates it out of existence. While we have
mm,
this feeling that we are separate, we are different, okay, and that individual consciousness comes because we think in terms of name and form. So here again, that is a aggregate. Here it is saying.
mm. Doctor, just general question. Out of these five, what do you think? Which is the hardest to crack?
No, they are not to be cracked. They are just accumulations that
Mm,
get accumulated. Like, when the temperature is cold, the water aggregates and forms ice. Okay.
mm.
So, how do you crack that ice into water again? Temperature
By
changes,
heating
conditions
temperature.
changes.
Yeah,
Yeah, and it will be so when the water becomes vapor is because of the conditions. How do you
yeah.
condense it back into water is by changing the conditions. So the only thing that remains of
Temp
reshaping the aggregates into the manifested form that we desire or want is by working on the conditions.
mm, And that's why the Sangha's presence around you matters a lot, right?
Yes, that matters. The submission matters to the understanding, the dharma. The submission
Mm,
matters to the intellect that guides us. That's the Buddha, and definitely the team around us. And all this is done through the practice. You cannot make it like a choice.
mm,
It is not a desire, it's a conditioning.
mm,
And it hence practice is very important. Hence, Shunya becomes the only and only way. No other way can lead you
mm.
to getting yourself rid of this conditional manifestation of the aggregates.
Yeah, yeah. Doctor, then Bhikkhu is further inquiring. Bhante, how does Sakaya we are on slide number 45 now. Here, Bhikkhu, an untaught ordinary person who has no regard for Arya and is unskilled and undisciplined in their Dhamma, regards Rupa as self or self as possessing form and or form as in self or self as in form. They regard feeling, perception, mental action, and consciousness in the same way. This is how Sakaya Ditti identity view arises. Sadhu Bhante, the bhikkhu said, and then he further asked, Bhante, how does Sakaya Ditti identity view not arise? Here, bhikkhu, a well taught noble disciple who has regard for Arya and is skilled and disciplined in their Dhamma, does not regard Rupa as self or self as possessing Rupa or Rupa as in self or self as in Rupa. They do not regard Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara or Viyana in the same way. This is how identity view does not arise. Sadhu Bhante the Bhikkhu said, and then he further asked, Bhante, what is the gratification? What is the danger? And what is the escape in regard to Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Viyana? Bhikkhu, the pleasure and joy that arise depending on the Rupa, this is the gratification of form. The form is impermanent, suffering, and subject to change. This is the danger of form. The removal and abandonment of desire and lust for Rupa. This is the escape from Rupa. The same applies to Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and the Viyana. The Viyana is anicca, dukkha, and subject to change. This is the danger of Viyana, the removal and abandonment of Chanda and Raga for Viyana. This is the escape from Viyana. Sadhu Bhante, the bhikkhu said, delighting in and approving of the Bhagavad's words, and then he further asked, Doctor, should we continue or we take a stop?
Yeah, so here if you see, he keeps on again questioning. Okay, if you go to
Yeah,
the previous slide, then this
yeah,
before the gratification part, you'll realize
yeah,
that he's asking about the self identity view. The Sa
yeah,
Kaya, Sa means accompanied with, Kaya means the body,
yeah,
and view, right?
yeah,
So he's asking about the
yeah.
Sakaya Ditti and what
Hmm.
is not having a Sakaya Ditti, and he's talking about
Ah,
the two. So one who
hmm,
has a differentiating mind and one who
hmm,
has a non-differentiating mind. So it is said
hmm,
that one who has a differentiating mind is an untaught ordinary person who does
yeah,
not respect the noble ones, okay, who are skilled and disciplined, they themselves are unskilled
Yes.
and undisciplined in their dharma, their own duty. They are not able to do it right, and they regard their self in the rupa, whatever it is. They think they are that. Okay, they think that they are possessing that particular rupa. Okay, or they see the rupa in the self, or the self in the rupa. Okay, so they consider that differentiating view in everything, and they regard the same with Vedana, perception, your mental action, and Vijnana in the same way. And this is how they have a wrong view towards life. But an exactly opposite right view is where you have that non-self attitude, where you do not differentiate, and you are skilled and disciplined in this particular act that you are doing, your dharma, that your responsibilities that you're fulfilling, and do not see yourself in the rupa as a self. Okay, or do not have the self in the things that you are doing, and you're completely free of that particular view of a separate self, and see
Mm,
everything as you're doing. Then you're
mm,
free from all the other panchaskandas also, and this is having
mm,
the right identity view. And when it
mm,
is saying that, okay, what is gratification and what is the
mm,
danger of that in regards to the escape from that kind of view, here Buddha
mm,
says it is what you can see in the next slide is the pleasure and joy. If you
mm,
start getting in that trap of pleasure and joy of particular things in the world of the rupa or in the world of the feeling. So for example, somebody starts getting in that pleasure and joy, and pleasure and joy will keep you into that mode of attachment, into the mode of craving, in the mode of desire. Then you are actually stuck in that loop, and then you crave for that rupa. Same is with feeling. You crave for that feeling. You are in that gratification. You want it. And same is with a particular perception. It's the same with your action. You go on doing that. You want that action again and again. And also the consciousness, the dharma. You seek for the same consciousness that you want again and again. So that craving and that desire, the chanda and the raga, will lead you into that particular trap. And one who is completely removing that and abandoning that particular thing, then he is free from chanda and raga, and hence he has an escape from the panchaskanda.
yeah. Very detailed discussion on Panchaskanda, Doctor. The interesting inquiry of a bhikkhu is leading us to go deeper and deeper also.
Yeah,
And
and
let's,
if you look at it, the only way is how do you get detached, also is mentioned very here, to consider the impermanence, the suffering, and the subject and change of these panchaskandas. This will help you to get out of that danger of being, in the trap of the panchaskanda. So here again, the three things: the secret lies in the impermanence of things, the suffering it brings in the mask of all the pleasure and joy that it offers, and its
yes,
impermanence nature means it definitely will change. So do not hold on to it in any form.
yeah. We further continue, Doctor. Slide number 48. For Bhante, how does one know and see so that in this conscious body and all external signs, there is no I making, mind making, or underlying tendency to concept? Bhikkhu, whatever rupa, past, present, future, or internal, external, gross or subtle, inferior or superior, far or near, one sees all rupa with right panya as it really is. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. The same applies to Vedana, Sanya, Sankara, and Vijnana. Knowing and seeing thus, Bhikkhu, in this conscious body and all external signs, there is no I making, mind making, or underlying tendency to concept. At the time, a certain Bhikkhu had this thought. So, Rupa is anatta, non self, Vedana is anatta, Sankha, Sanya, perception is anatta, non self, Sankara, the mental actions are anatta, not self. Vijnana consciousness is anatta, not self. Then what self will the deeds done by what is not self touch? Wow, very interesting question in itself,
Yeah.
Doctor. Then the Bhagwan knowing the thought, yeah. Should we stop for
Yeah, no,
discussion? Or we,
I will try to see what the Bhagwa is answering.
Yeah. Then the Bhagwan, knowing the thought in that bhikkhu's chitta, mind, addressed the bhikkhus. It is possible because that some foolish person immersed in avijja, ignorance, and overcome by tanha, craving, might think so. Rupa is anatta, Vedana is anatta, Sanya is anatta, Sankhara is anatta, Vijnana is anatta. Then what self will the deeds done by what is not self touch? Because you have been guided various points. Today we will talk about nature, permanent or impermanent anicca. Anicca bante. Is Vedana feeling, Sanya perception, Sankhara mental action, Vijnana consciousness, nature permanent or anicca, impermanent? Anicca bante. What is anicca? Is it dukkha or sukha, happiness? Dukkha bante. What is anicca, dukkha and subject to change? Is it proper to regard it as this is mine, this I am, this is myself? No bante. Therefore, because seeing thus one understands there is no further existence in any state of being. Two aggregates are the same. The term is based on cause. Two are said to be Sakaya Ditti, identity view, and gratification, and Vijnana consciousness. These 10 are said. The bhikkhu asks questions. So this was the end of Sutta Doctor. We can go back to the slide number uh, because that was very interesting forth by the bhikkhu on side number 48. Bhante, how does one know and see so that this is in this conscious body and all external science, there is no I making, mind making, or underlying tendency to concept, doctor. So, yes. Mm. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts on this, doctor?
So when you see that all this is impermanent, okay, and it's the cause of dukkha, suffering, and it is subject to change. When you know these three things, then definitely you realize that you are not the panchaskanda, and you're not in the panchaskanda. These panchaskanda do not belong to you, and they are just the conditional manifestation. Hence, they are basically non-self. And here the bhikkhu goes further to ask Buddha that, okay, you're saying that this all is non-self, the Rupa, Vedana, Saudhya, Sanskar, Vigyan. Then what is it that the self has to do so that this non-self thing is going to be subject to change? So here the question is that what okay by what is not self-touch. So here it is again going into that wrong view, ignorance, seeing that as separate. And when you see something
Mm,
separate, then you are again stuck. It's like, what will the, what has the temperature to do self? Because it is just conditioning, right? The temperature doesn't have a self identity. Yes, because of that cold nature, the water manifests as ice. That has a different identity. But temperature is just conditional, it is dependent on many other factors. So conditions are basically the non-self, and even the panchaskanda that are manifested things are also non-self. So it's not the self that is trying to condition the non-self, or the non-self trying to condition the self. It is basically conditions conditioning itself. So you have to understand that part. If you understand that, then you realize that if I have to change my condition, I have to do conditioning to
mm,
change my condition. There is not going to be anything separate from conditioning that is going to change condition. You understood? And one who understands that, then he
mm,
understands the deeper meaning of the Panchaskanda. Otherwise, again, the wrong question, the question
mm.
itself is wrong. And if you go further, Buddha again tells him, again goes back to teaching him that, okay, do you understand impermanence? Do you understand this? Is that permanent? He's teaching them again, because here the
Yeah.
person has a wrong view. He's still on holding on
Mm,
to the wrong view. With a wrong view, the foolish will be immersed in avigya, and in that ignorance, he is going to ask wrong questions.
mm,
A wrong question. does not have a right answer because the question itself is wrong,
mm,
and hence that is not to be answered. And if you look at Buddha, is not answering this question because he doesn't even understand. So he moves on to telling the same thing again: impermanence. Okay, is impermanence you? Is what belongs to you yours, mine? And he understands, and he said, this is mine, this is I, this I am, this is myself. Then he again brings him to that point because Buddha is trying to correct his view first, because he is still seeing the self in the non-self, and that's the problem. And here if you look at it, it just goes
mm,
like this: therefore bhikshu seeing thus, one understands there is no further existence in any state of being. So
mm,
here it is automatically going to that point, and then at the end I think so it just goes halfway through, where they are talking about two aggregates are the same, the term is based on cause, two are said to have Sakhya Diti, that's identity view, the gratification, and the Vijnana. Okay, these two things. Then these 10 are said. The bhikkhu asks questions. Now, it means now they know that even the Buddha is giving a very specific answer. The guy, since he has a wrong view, maybe his questions will never stop. It will just keep on coming till the time he doesn't have a right view. At the point of right view, there will be no more further questioning.
These are the 10 questions asked by that bhikkhu, and last one was the verse, actually, the Dr. Gatha. So very
I,
interesting. I guess uh, uh, when it comes to decoding the Panchaskandha, which is major part of understanding self, I guess, and as you have said that when we understand self with the right view only, when we have the
no,
you know
understanding
uh,
non-self, not self.
uh-huh,
Understanding non-self. Because if we trying to understand self, then that's the wrong view. We
mm-hmm,
do know that there is no self, and when
mm,
we know that everything is conditional and everything is born from a dependent origination,
mm,
we understand the pratitya samutpad. Then we realize that there is no separate self to understand. The problem here is we are trying to understand that separate self that does not exist, and then whole journey goes wrong. You understand? Then we seek out for that supreme lord or something, out there as
yeah,
something separate, when you are the dependent origination of that conditional manifestation that you have become. And if you see yourself as an outcome of condition, you know that this ice that I am is because I have been put into the cold freezer, and when I will now come out of it into the warmth, okay, of compassion, of my doing of duties and do all this, I would melt into my basic nature of water again. So I know that, and that is exactly what I need to do. So this realization of non-self is one of the most important realization that leads you into that non-attachment, non-differentiation mind, which then leads you to the state what we call as living in the present, which leads you into that state called as nirvan or nibbana, which keeps you free from whatever so-called panchaskanda traps that are there. And then you know what has to be done. There's no escape from it, and then you will keep on doing your duty and responsibilities. And that's how deep this goes. So you have to understand, realization puts you back into work. Realization does not take
mm.
you away from your responsibilities, but actually makes you more responsible on your responsibilities.
Right, doctor. You talked about conditioning the conditions. I guess it's like, if you want to get wet and want to learn the swimming, you just jump down in water. So you create that conditions around you. You create that environment so that you become one in that. Also, when it comes to non-self, it feels like we are just standing on a mountain, but in front of, great Everest mountain, you are just looking like a small ant there. So if we can develop
No,
that
but that would be a differentiating mindset. No.
diti and
To consider yourself small in front of something big is still differentiating. Do not see that. When you look at everything as one, you will never have that differentiating mindset of the mountain being separate from you. You will see yourself as a part of it, and you'll realize that there is no two different things. When you will realize that you're climbing the mountain on one side, on the other side the mountain is carrying you up, you will never see that difference. So these mountaineers, many a time they feel that the tougher the people they feel is they are climbing the mountain. Okay, that is that separate differentiating view. But on the other side, there are people who think that the mountain is carrying them, and they take it very at ease, and their mountaineering experience is just like a easy walk. Same is like water. Somebody thinks that he's swimming in the water, and
Mm.
somewhere he feels that the water is allowing them to float. And this mindset change of not seeing
Mm.
a separate self, but being a part of everything that is happening, that's the key here Buddha is trying to tell us as non-self.
Yes, doctor, becoming one with them. Doctor, maybe this might be overwhelming for all the listeners out there. The big concepts of, non-self, Sakai, Dithi, and Panchaskanda, we are telling its impermanence and all. What is your takeaway when it comes to Panchaskanda to practice it in daily life? Like very easiest method for all the listeners out there.
No, there's no practice on the skanda. If you practice on the skanda, you're gone. You're trapped. You don't practice on the skanda. You observe the skandhas and their nature. You see them manifesting. You see them ever changing. That's why you need to have the right view. That is the vipassana, and that vipassana will lead you to the clarity of seeing things clearly, and then you will be able to see your true self. That's basically that you are the unconditioned self that you have always been seeing as a conditioned separate self. Then you achieve the highest state, the anuttara samyak sambodhi, of means the highest understanding of seeing that there is no two, there is all one and the same. And then you also remain in that satisfied state, that is the state of samadhi, because you've been practicing samatha, non-differentiation. So technically when you look at it, there's nothing to practice on the panchaskandha. The problem is people want to practice on the panchaskandha, rupa, vedana, saudhya, sanskar, vigyan. How can you practice on them? They are your skandhas, they are your obstacles. They will never let you have that realization. You need not practice on them. You need to only observe them. That is why you observe the breath. You observe the counting. You only observe. That's the practice of shunya. Shunya is an observation practice. It's the observation of the conditions that are there. And what we are starting it with is your breathing. And that's the condition that is common to everyone. And if you observe it, you will realize there is no breathing as such separate from that particular thought that you're having. And as the thoughts are not there, so is that experience of breathing not being there. And you realize and you hit that point of non differentiation, the unstained self that we call, the unstained consciousness. And that's where one has to go. But how do you do that? Is only and only with practice, no other way, by conditioning.
Wow. So being in that present moment and just observing whatever is happening. Doctor, when it comes to goal and performing duties and your roles and responsibilities, mm, how should we, whatever discussion we do, maybe high level discussion, maybe people out there, maybe, perceiving it like that. What is the what is the turnaround, doctor, for all of our discussions of today's
Be
any
res-
message if you want
no,
to?
be responsible. I think being responsible, doing what is supposed to be done for the responsibilities that have been offered to you, and taking that as a duty, a challenge, and performing it. That's it. That's how simple it is. If everybody understands this, everybody performs their duty and roles and responsibility. I think that's where the harmony is. You look at the kingdom of ants. Everybody is doing their duty, and hence
Mm.
there is harmony even in all that huge population of ants. They can build ant hills, they can store, they can do so much work. Look at the bees. There are so many, but yet their harmony is there because everybody is doing their duty and their responsibilities. So is the world around us. Everything is at peace and calm because there is harmony. The only way you can bring peace and calmness within you is by bringing harmony. And how that can be done is by doing your duty, assigned duty, responsibilities that are given to you, fulfilling those without the craving of wanting what the others have, but being satisfied with what you have. I think that all becomes one of the bases on which you are bringing harmony in your life. And I think that's what Buddha is trying to say, that peace is nothing but a synonym to harmony, and one who understands this harmonizes everything around it, experiences peace, and prosperity follows.
Yeah, I guess to see it as it is. Sunna practice comes in handy, doctor, because it makes you to be in present moment. You are concentrating also on and developing. At least we are not creating any newcomer while having that meditation also. So I guess many people will take advantage of this. I guess there are no any online questions, doctor, and today's summary of. As you have stated and with the right examples, it's conditioning, the conditions which is in our hand. At least we can create those conditions around us, and being disciplined is the way to move forward, performing your roles and responsibilities. So, thank you all for joining today, and thank you, Doctor, for your presence. We will end this session today here. We will meet tomorrow 8:30 for Hindi Ekotaraga Mastery. Till then, take care. Bye bye.